Hi and welcome to my channel, Doreen's Designs. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make my beach bathroom jars. I hope you like my tutorial, and here, let's go ahead and get started. Guys, we're going to jump right in. These are the jars that I get off of Amazon that we're going to use in this tutorial. I use two different sizes and I'll have them linked below. We're going to go ahead and tape off the threaded area of the jar with some electrical tape so that we can prep the jar. I prep my jars in a sandblaster, but you can scuff it up with some sandpaper and rinse it off. Whatever your normal prep step would be fine. I just use a sandblaster. I find it easier on my hands. So then we're gonna fold it over so we can easily remove it. Once we're done, I'll take it out to the sandblaster, and this is what it looks like when I'm done with the sandblasting. Very frosted look. Then we're gonna go ahead and put our turner arm on it. I get my turner arms from TheBoan. I will also link their site below. Once we get that screwed on, we're gonna go ahead and put electrical tape around the edge to cover off our cap and our clear area that was left. We want to cover up the whole cap so we don't spray paint our turner arms. And I did do some modifying of TheBoan's turner arms because the lids that they come with are for ball jars. So we're going to go right into spray painting with Rust-Oleum 2 times. This is Ivory Silk. We'll go around the bottom for the sand area. Then we'll go into Ocean Mist and just do that in the center section. Just working back and forth. I did speed this video up. I don't really spray paint this fast. Then we're gonna finish off with Lagoon, which is a teal color. And we're gonna spray that around the top and let it go down into the Ocean Mist a little. I'm gonna go back with the Ocean Mist again just to cover up some of that oversprayed a little further than I like, and then go back with the Ivory Silk one more time. So this is what we wind up with after the spray paint. I did put a piece of painter's tape around there to protect my lid some more. We'll go ahead and leave the electrical tape on because we're gonna go in and do our glitter next. These are the glitters from PDB we'll be using: Nude, Sandbar, Kokomo, High Dive, Sea Breeze, Under the Sea, Polaris, and Jade. They're all available on the website, which I will link below. We're gonna go ahead and get into glittering. I use some Fast Set to do my glittering, and I just do a milliliter of each. I don't like to mix less than that, but we don't need that much to cover these jars. So we're just gonna squirt that in there, and then we're gonna give that a mix till it's good. Okay, then we're gonna heat our jar up with a heat gun so that the Fast Set will smear on really thin, because we wanna use just the tiniest bit. So then we'll just rub it on. I apologize, I'm off camera. I'm just massaging this into the jar to get a nice even coat. We'll rub it on the bottom and around the neck and all around the jar, and it just smooths on like butter if you heat it up like that. So once we get this all smoothed on, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna tap it with our hand to get a uniform finish all the way around so we don't have any weird lines or anything that might show up in the glitter once we start our glitter process. So let me take this glove off and pitch this, and we're gonna start with the sand. We're gonna use Nude, which is a beautiful, extra fine, champagne-y gold color. It's the most gorgeous color, and you could use any gold that you wanted for the beach. I find I like this one the best out of my 700 glitters I have. So we're just gonna sprinkle that around. We do it pretty heavy around the bottom and then sprinkle it so that it falls up on the edge. I did get a little blooper there. I got it up a little higher than I like, but that's okay. Who's been to a beach that's perfectly even? So I'm gonna just dump my glitter back in my jar, and we're gonna go into the next color, which is, I always start with the chunkies and do the chunkies as I layer up. We're gonna do Kokomo next. The chunkies give you more depth to your ocean, so I like to do the chunkies, and then I'll blend everything out with the finer cuts as we go. So I just kind of sprinkle it around and get a very light coverage of the chunkies. We're gonna go into High Dive next, which is another chunky. We're gonna sprinkle this one from where we stopped. I kind of did through the misty colored section, and then I did the High Dive up a little higher on the Lagoon, maybe filtered a little down as I was doing that. So those are my chunkies. We're gonna go into our finer cuts now. So this is Sandbar. We'll use this to blend out our sand up into the lighter part of the ocean. And I'm just doing these very lightly. I'll go back and we'll do some heavier coverage at the end. You just wanna you can always put more on, you can't take it off if you get too much on there. So we wanna make sure we get a nice blend. So we just wanna go nice and slow and easy. This is Sea Breeze, which is a little tealy colored. We're gonna go ahead and sprinkle that about where we stopped with the Sandbar, and just letting it slowly drift upwards slightly. And most of these colors, it's not gonna hurt if you get a little further than you wanted. The blend is all up to you. I like to make very smooth transitions. This is Under the Sea. It's a really awesome holographic. I do that more towards the top. We'll let it fall down into the Lagoon too, so we get that the sparkle in the dark part. And like I said, we're doing very light coverages right now, just to get our baseline of where our colors are gonna be. The next glitter we're gonna use is Polaris. This is also a fine. And we're gonna sprinkle that up just a little bit higher, going around. And then we will move on to our darkest color. I'm gonna tap this off just a little. Oh, we're using Jade here. I apologize, I forgot to show you the color. This is the darkest one. We'll do Jade down from the top down and let it fall into the others. Now we kind of have our fade going. So let me clean this up. It's stuck to my paper. Now we're gonna go back and build our full coverage. So I'm gonna tap it off with my hammer. You can use scissors, whatever you use. You don't want to tap on the edge of the jar though, because we don't want to break the glass that's underneath. So I always tap the handle. Now I'm going back in with Sandbar. I'm going a little bit heavier coverage, letting it fall down a little more. Again, to build the depth. And I don't like to waste anything, so I put my glitter back when I'm done. I'm going to tap it off again. Make sure we don't get our colors mixed together. Then I'm going to use Sea Breeze. It's sort of a good blender to blend everything together. It's got translucent quality to it, so it does well putting it all over. It adds a little something to those other layers. All right, so once we get all the glitters on and we like the coverage that we have, we're gonna go ahead and pull that tape right away, because we don't want that fast set epoxy to set up while that tape is still on there. Then I'm gonna take a piece of wax paper and we're gonna tap that glitter down so that the epoxy goes on better in one coat than it would if we didn't do this. We're just kind of patting it down with the wax paper to get all the little pokey bits that stand up so that it's super flat. Now that we've done that, we're gonna go into epoxy for our first coat. And we're gonna go ahead and smooth it on. I did seal these with clear gloss spray paint. I forgot to video that step, I apologize, just to keep all of our glitters together. I do always have a stray piece that winds up in my sand, but that's okay. So we'll just rub it on till it's nice and smooth. We'll hit it with our torch to pop the bubbles. Then once we do that, we want to go ahead and pull the tape. Again, you don't want to forget and leave this tape on here. I know some people like to leave it spin for a while before you remove the tape. I don't feel that it hurts anything, so I pull it right away and then I hit it with my torch again once I take the tape off to smooth everything. Once this layer is cured, we're gonna go ahead and take it and we're gonna sand it and get off all of the pokey bits that were remaining on this layer of epoxy. I wet sand all my stuff, so I just get some 320 grit sandpaper wet and then I scrub it down, making sure we get all of the rough spots, especially around the neck. Once we get it to our satisfaction and we don't feel any more pokey bits, we'll go ahead and rinse it with some soap. I must have missed a spot. That neck sometimes gets a little pokey around the edge, so we want to scrub that real good. Looks pretty good, I think. So we'll rinse it off with just a sponge with some Dawn dish soap on it. Get all of our sanding dust off. We'll rinse it and dry it and go into our next layer of epoxy and our waves. So we'll put, again, our turner arm back on, and we'll put electrical tape again around the edge because we don't want that to creep up and epoxy our lid on. So when you put your tape on, just go slightly higher above the last area that you placed the tape on so that you don't have a super thick lip. Now, once we get the tape on, we're gonna put it on here and we're gonna smooth a thin layer of epoxy over the whole jar first before we apply our waves. And I just smooth it around with my finger like this. I let the turner do most of the work. We'll massage it into the bottom. I like to really rub it in. I feel like that really helps with fish eyes. If you rub it in, make sure it gets really nice adhesion to where we just sand it. So once we get a nice thin layer on there, we're going to mix some Armor Art white into a little bit of our epoxy. I'm gonna put just a little bit in another cup. Probably like, I don't know, 2.5, I mean, a little, whoops, and I threw it on the floor. It didn't spill, yay. All right, so we just need a little bit. The waves, a little bit goes a long way. This Armor Art is really sticky paste, so I gotta dig in there and scoop it out with my tool. So we just need a little bit on the end of the stick. It doesn't take much at all, and then you really gotta work it into the epoxy. You can use whatever white pigment that you're used to using. This is just what I've always used. So we're gonna go ahead and mix that up until our epoxy gets white and everything is well mixed together. Like I said, the Armor Art is really sticky paste, so it takes a little while for me to get it in there, but there it is. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna make sure we torch it. Everything's all smoothed out. We'll have a little motion going on because our epoxy's warmer. We're gonna just take it and we're gonna string it across just in areas like this. And like I said, start out with a little because it can get out of hand really fast. Then once we string it on there like this, we're gonna take our heat gun and we're gonna hit those areas to spread it out. It kind of fans out. You can see it moving the epoxy. I've got it on the highest setting. You don't wanna go too crazy because again, it can get out of hand. I use my tool and kind of drive back through it to give it a little more drag it out if it's clumping up. Then I'm going to use my little butane torch. You could use it like a kitchen torch, and we're just going to kind of hit those areas, this makes like little cells in this Armor Art white, like little bubbly kind of looking things if you just hit it real quick. Again, you got to be careful. I like to reverse it so that it's not spinning the same way, so that it adjusts. And then we'll go ahead and pull it off of here and take the tape off. This is like my workstation, so I'll put it on another thing and we'll let it spin out. You don't want to put a whole lot of heat to it after this because you don't want those waves to go crazy. So then once our waves are on, I actually went and sanded my jars, and then I just got some little beachy items. You can get these anywhere. These ones in particular I pulled from Creative Fabrica. So I just got some little birds that I put in the sky. I kind of spread those around, and you could really not even do this step. It's all up to you. I like the little critters. I think it gives it something else interesting to look at. But again, you could completely go with just the ocean with no critters. I found these cute little beach seagulls, which I thought were super cute. So I thought those would look cute sitting around the bottom. And some starfish. And like I said, you could use any sea life you want. I mix it up. I do turtles sometimes, seashells. Here's a little shell. And like I said, this is completely up to you if you do this or not. Oops, I'm ripping off other things. Put that back. Nothing's perfect. These are the daily things I go through. It's not. So here's another jar that I did. We'll put some stickers on that one too. And like I said, this is all personal preference. I really like these little birds. I'll just go ahead and let this play out. Okay, so now that we got all of our decals applied, we'll go ahead and tape it up again and put on our final layer of epoxy. You can seal these down. In this instance, I normally use quick coat and I seal all my vinyl before I put epoxy on it, but these decals were tiny enough I didn't think there would be any issues. So we'll just go ahead and put our final layer of epoxy over our decals. So again, we had glitter, one layer of epoxy, we sanded, and then we put another layer of epoxy and our waves and we sand it, and this is our third and final layer. Normally with my sanding steps and pushing all of those pokey bits down with the wax paper on our glittering step, I don't usually ever have to put more than 3 coats on. All right, so once our epoxy is all cured, we're gonna go ahead and put our lids on these. So we have 4 jars, 2 small and 2 big. I'll have the lids linked in the description box below. They come in a box like this. There's 4 pieces. They come with 2 of the small lids for the jars, a toothbrush, makeup brush holder, and these are the lids for the small jars. They just slip over the top like so. We're gonna put cotton balls and Q-tips in these. You could put anything you want in them, really. These are just lids to sit on the jars. I wouldn't put lotion or anything in there because those aren't gonna be sealed tight as they just sit on the top. Here's the toothbrush makeup brush one. It just screws right on. Easy peasy. Then we have the soap dispenser. It comes in pieces. We'll have to put it together. So it comes with the stick for the soap. I don't ever cut them. I leave them long so it gets all the way to the bottom of my jar. You got to really shove it in there to get it all the way in. And these foaming soap dispensers, you don't have to buy foaming soap. You can use regular thick soap, but you'd want to do like a 50-50 ratio of thick soap and water. When you put it in the jar, kind of swirl it around. You don't want to shake it real hard because it'll get all foamy. And you put the little screw piece in the bottom here once you put the top piece in, and you just tighten it up. Again, the soap is easy. You just do like a 50-50 ratio, swirl it around. It's got an on and off thing. It pumps. Then you screw this into the jar. I kind of like jam it in there to bend the straw portion so it gets all the way to the bottom. And there we have all 4 of them. Like so. I hope you guys enjoyed my tutorial, and if you have any questions, feel free to post in the comments. Here's the finished thing. If you liked my video, please give it a thumbs up, and be sure you hit that bell button to subscribe to my channel. I hope you enjoyed my bathroom jar beach tutorial. Everyone have a good night and keep crafting.